The boat was on the verge of sinking, and the wave condition made everyone seasick, including the captain himself. So we were just like floating around on the sea for 2 days. Now, to make it worse, my dad was getting a terminal illness. So he was bedridden for many years. And I just, most of the time, just buying options, buying a call option, buy a put option, speculating in one side or the other. Yes, there was time when I make money, but most of the time I lost money. And I blew up 2 accounts at the beginning. When I received calls, I don't know why people got my phone number. They called me during the weekend, like crying, asking me for help. And they show me some of the trades that they did. And I tell you, I was stunned.
So in today's special episode on Piranha Profits, I managed to actually invite Bang down to our studio. Essentially, it will be a podcast where we'll go through Bang's life story and understanding how his whole story and his options trading experience that enabled them to consistently beat the market over the last few years. So Bang, just a very quick introduction. He's the options trading master tactician here with Piranha Profits. He has over 2 decades of trading experience, over 10,000 live trading hours. And he's also an inventor of some of our trademark options trading strategies like Bull Bang and the Crouching Bull Spread. So later on in this video, I'll definitely get him to talk more about his strategy and the thought process and how do you use these strategies, etc. And even the Crouching Bull Spread, it actually yielded 109% returns just last year alone. So he had an impressive 2023 results. He managed to double one of the six-figure account in 9 months using options. And just last year, he had one account actually went up 157% in 12 months' time, mainly using the crouching bull strategy. So I think just a very quick introduction, and maybe for those viewers that don't really know you, Bang, what do we need to know about you?
Thank you, CK, for inviting me. Hi, everyone. My name is Bang. I came from a very humble family background. My family was in a very small village or town in Vietnam. I had other 6 siblings. And in 1975, when the Vietnam War ended, we went through a very tough time, right? My dad worked for their own government. So when the war was over, he could not get any job. And my mom became a breadwinner for the family, feeding, the big family. And obviously, we went through a very tough time together with the whole country. Like many other parents in Vietnam at that point in time, my parents spent their last dollars or money trying to send out ourselves, meaning my siblings and myself, out to another country, hoping we get a better life. And we were called boat people at that point in time, right? If some of you could still remember that. So my first 3 siblings were lucky when they escaped the country right at the first attempt, and they got rescued after a few days floating on the sea, and they were sent to a refugee camp in Pulau Bidong in Malaysia. Stayed there for almost a year, and then they migrated to the US. My fourth brother and myself were not that lucky. We was on a small boat with more than 60 people on it. Very crowded, very cramped, and we was facing a very tough weather conditions. The wave is terrible. It was like few meters high, and it kept coming into the boat. And I was a little boy lying in front of the boat, and the water kept going to my body round after rounds. And you can imagine when the sun rise, it dry up my shirt. I could see a layer of salt on it. I could not eat nor drink anything because anything I take in, I immediately throw out. And the boat was on the verge of sinking, and the machine was broken. And the wave condition made everyone seasick, including the captain himself. So we were just like floating around on the sea for 2 days, praying and hoping somebody would come to pick us up. And unfortunately, no one did. And finally, when the boat was almost sunk already, and there was a fishing boat nearby, and it came, and then we had to take out anything left on our pockets, right? Somebody has some money left, some gold, some watches, and every valuable items, just to pay the boat to drag us back to the seashore. We reached there, and everyone ran because otherwise the police would come and put us in the jail. So after that, my brother and myself attempted the second time on another boat, but this time it was quick. The police already came, everyone ran again. So after two times of failures, I told my parents at that point in time that you don't need to waste money for me anymore because I know it's very tough and very costly as well every time. So I decided not to go anymore. But my brother, or the one who went with me, continued, and then he finally succeeded after I think 10 times. And now he's also in the US. So I decided to stay back, but it's very tough for us who remaining in Vietnam at that point in time because our family essentially bankrupt because my parents have to sell everything just to pay for the trip itself. Now, to make it worse, my dad was getting a terminal illness. So he was bedridden for many years during my university time. And unfortunately, he finally passed away during my third year. And I lost my biggest supporter in my life. But life had to go on. So after I graduated, I applied for the job in a local airlines. I was hoping that I could make a lot of money to help my mom. And the desire to make money kept growing in my body, like it burning, desire in my mind every time. Unfortunately, in the first job where I landed there, I was not paid for the first 3 months because, long story short, there was a big fight between my boss, the one who recruited me, and the general manager, some personal conflict. And I was just a victim of that. The general manager decided not to pay me with the intent for me to give up and walk away. I did not. I did not give up. I kept my head down and continued to work for 3 months, really hard. And after 3 months, they realized that this guy is serious, and I did contribute a lot. Eventually, they sent me out to Kaohsiung in Taiwan to work there as a representative for the airlines, where I worked there for a year. So, still remember the night when I landed in Kaohsiung first time. I wrote a letter. There's no email at that point. I just a hard copy letter to my siblings in the U.S. I told them that, you know what, I finally got out of the country, but not on small boats anymore. It's now on the airplane. And even better, I was on the airplane cockpit. I mean, I was a representative of the airlines, right? So somehow the pilot allowed me to get into the cabin to see his landing. So every time I reflect that story, it was like a dream that comes true to me from a little boy from a very poor small town in Vietnam. Now I can have the chance to work outside. And now I can teach people on trading, investing, and options, everything. It's just a dream that I'm living.
Can I actually ask a little bit on, you said that you and your brother attempted the second, you only went for two times, your
Mm.
brother finally escaped the 10th time. What was your thought process back then, that why you wanted to stop at two times and just tell your parents that let's not waste any more money? And
The intent there was I don't want to waste more money for my parents because they almost broke at that point in time,
how
right?
old were you back then?
I was like, that was 14 years old.
At 14 years old, you were sensible enough to tell
Yeah,
yourself that
it's tough. I know that they need to sell stuff in the home
to keep
yeah,
attempting
yeah.
to bring you guys out.
So I told my parents, no, I'm not going.
But your brother still continued trying.
Yes.
Okay. You were also sharing back then when your failed attempt, your two times failed attempt of escaping, right? There was brushes of death, right? There were a few things that you didn't know where were you at. You were very lost and stuff. Then I would presume that it was like a preview to your experience with close to some death experience, right? Like, do you have any important lessons or just one important thing that crossed your mind back then when you were stranded in the sea?
Yeah, so after now I reflected that story, right? There are a few things that resonate very well in my mind. Number one, when you are so close to the death, like I was, you will feel that you love this life. And you want to live every day to the fullest. That's always something that remind me to continue. Live my life as if it is the last day of myself. So that's is the first thing. So always live to the fullest, do your best. So number two, what doesn't kill you really makes you stronger if you don't give up yourself. So I was not paid for 3 months when I really needed the money, but I did not give up and I got rewarded. So just show that the resiliency there is so important. Don't give up. Before I get to number three, I tell you another story, continue of my career. So after that airlines, I joined Procter in 1995. And I worked really hard to get to a higher level. So I became the first Vietnamese local staff who got promoted to group director level. And there was time when my boss was looking around for a candidate who willing to go to the Philippines to take a vacant job there. I raised my hand. No Vietnamese has ever worked there. I mean, as expatriate for the company before. So I raised my hand, and my boss agreed, and I got the job. Very tough time also, but we managed to survive and turn around. So the lesson number three I have here is grab your opportunities with both hands when it comes. Always take chance. Do your best to grab the opportunities. And number four, keep learning. Keep learning so that you don't get obsolete.
I think actually from your experience thus far, you have led a very fruitful and very eventful life. There was a lot of ups, a lot of downs, right? And I also understand recently that you decided to retire. So you took the active step. You haven't hit the retirement age. It was a proactive one on your end. So you have probably led a pretty comfortable life over the last 20 years when you were at Procter and Gamble. You were climbing the corporate ladder. I would presume that you were earning quite a good salary if you are sitting at such a high level, right? So what keeps you going, or why are you still doing what you're doing today? You can very well just retire on your good retirement money. You are trading well. Why are you still so passionate and still teaching, even at this current juncture?
Well, you're right. Recently, I have decided to retire early from Procter& Gamble after 28 years. Get no mistake, I love the job. Procter is one of the best companies out there. You don't work for somebody for that long if you don't love it, right? So if my kids really like to work, I would recommend them to join Procter as well. At the same time, I also love trading, especially option trading, since I got into this arena almost 20 years ago. And I'm now getting older, regardless of whether I like it or not. So I need to make some choices here. I decided to dedicate my time and energy now on something I really love to do, which is the option trading and teaching people on how to do it, make money, and equip them with on the option trading knowledge so that they can avoid some of the costly mistakes that I made when I started out. Right? So my passion has been magnified since I joined Piranha Profits and teaching options. The community is getting bigger and bigger, expanding very rapidly, and I see the need to help people more. And I decided to dedicate my time to teaching people and also answering questions for people on the community, helping them to get on board with the option trading journey. So now I have more time to serve the Piranha Profits community better, from creating new strategies, testing it out, and also if it proven working consistently, producing good profit, then I will teach the community members on how to do it. By teaching people on trading options, it also helped myself to reinforce the discipline in terms of being patient to wait for the right trade setup to enter, in terms of managing the right position sizing, don't overtrade, in terms of cutting losses or taking profits as the discipline. I cannot teach people something. I have to do what I preach, right? That's how I am. And by teaching people and everyone know what I'm teaching, then I cannot do something different. So that helped myself in terms of reinforcing the discipline.
But can I check with you, how old are you this year?
I am 55 now, just turned 55.
Just turned
Yeah.
55. So actually, if you were not teaching, would you continue working all the way until, what's the Singapore retirement age now? 62, 65? Would you be working all the way?
May not be because if I'm not teaching, I am still trading for myself,
Yes.
and my trading result has been good and consistent.
Yeah.
That also contributed to my decision to retire early.
On that front, do you have an estimation of how much it has quickened or it has shortened your retirement?
Yeah,
Time.
because my income from the trading is much more than what I earn from
From
the employment. So that's
okay.
why can retire. And of course, there will be good years and bad years on the way. But on average, you get a good money, and that is more than what you could earn from
Right.
the employment. Then it's time to move.
I guess it's really the idea behind trying to make money work harder for you, right?
That's
Because
right.
as your capital size grow bigger and bigger,
Correct.
any amount you are basically amplifying the returns and the absolute amount that you need compared to when you're working. So I also understand that you have been you are very active in the Piranha Profits community. You answer questions. There are a lot of people sending in a lot of messages every day as well. Maybe you can give maybe one experience off the top of your mind that was memorable to you that somebody told you.
Yeah, so really, every week I receive testimonials or messages from our community members telling me and Adam that, hey, they're making good money or they learning new skills or both. And that really is something that keep us going on. We keep raising our standards, serving the community better, raise our bar, then do the best that we could to serve. If I have to refer to one of the testimonial, perhaps the one that I'm still feel very touched because my birthday just passed. On that day, one member named Barry Mann, who wrote on the Discord channels a long message. So basically, what he said is this: in this special occasion, I just let you know how much you are loved and appreciated, not just by me, but my many other members whose life have been touched by you. Really, when I read those and I almost cry. And I even share that one with my daughter and my wife as well. So those are the things that keep me going and serve the community better than anything else.
Maybe now I think I wanted to pivot over to the discussion of your own experience with options. I think I just wanted to know like how did you first learn about options? When was it? And what exactly about this instrument that made you fall in love?
Okay, so I got to know option about 20 years ago
Okay.
when it was in the very early days and option was not so popular like we have today. So there was not a lot of training courses and YouTube. There's not such thing that teach options. So I have to experiment myself. I learned by myself. So I did not take any proper training on option. So in the first 7 years when I started out, I was just doing by myself, and most of the time I found myself in a different chat groups and where people hypes and they dump their shares and then I lost money. I mean, they share some tips, but I did not know those are like scammers and traps kind of thing. So I lost money most of the time, and I just most of the time just buying options, buying a call option, buy a put option, speculating in one side or the other. Yes, there was time when I make money, but most of the time I lost money. And I blew up two accounts at the beginning. But then after that, I took the proper option training class where I unlearn and relearn everything. And it's wow, there was something there that I did not know before, like the Greeks, the volatilities, the theta, you need to make it works in your favor, not against you. Those are the ones that I only knew it when I took the class. Since then, I became more like option seller than the buyer because option seller would have better chance of winning. Time decay works in the option seller's favor, right? Not the option buyers. Option buyers lose money most of the time. So a lot of learning there. So when I look at the phenomenon that we've seen over the past few years when people trade like meme stock, buying a call option on meme stock like GameStop or AMC, that's what just brought back me back to the own time. And I tell you, those are the things that I did before, and I lost money most of the time. It was
There's
yeah.
also a recent movement. They were trading zero DT.
GODT is
Yeah.
another one.
Trade zero DT on the SPY
It's
and
it's
try to
there was just like a fad there going on, and
yeah.
people just get lured to it and then do a lot of it. They did not know what they're doing. To be honest with you, I would avoid those things.
Right.
And now that I don't get into that one anymore, now on the more disciplined and
Mm.
process-driven kind of trading, then just go with what other people recommended.
Can I also understand because you said that when you initially started, there was not much guidance. You experimented a lot on your own and you blew up accounts, right? I also understand that a lot of people tend to give up, like in the midway. They don't go through. They don't want to learn the deal process. And what made you going? Like back then, when you were playing with this new monster called options, and then you were not getting very good results. What kept you going?
It goes back to the resiliency that I learned when I was facing very tough time when I was in the childhood timing. A lot of time I was almost like die and accident this and that. That somehow it forced myself a very strong sense of resiliency, right? I do not give up easily. So I kept going on. Now, but you are right. At that early time, option training was like very rare. One, two, it's one-off deal. You go to the class, you learn the lesson, and that's it. No support, no after sales, nothing. When you want to reach out to your coach or your trainer to ask questions to clarify something, you could not do it. So that's why part of the reason why I partner with Adam here is to create a community. It's like ecosystem where people just not learn, but we also provide a support system where they can continuous learning and reinforce what they're learning. And we are there almost like 18 hours a day in the Discord channel answering the questions. So you always have the feeling that we are beside you to help you out, hold your hands and get you throughout the journey. This is something I did not get at the beginning. Even when I learned the lesson on the option training, I did not have that experience. But it is something I really want to do, and I work with Adam, and we created this community support system, and now everyone can ask any question anytime.
Thanks for sharing, Bang, actually. That was also an inkling that I got that you don't seem to be someone that gives up easily, which is quite contrary to a lot of people because I do see a lot of like even friends or whoever, they do trading, they pick up trading, they pick up options, and then maybe not even blow up an account. Maybe they just had a bad losing streak. And then they just, oh, this is not for me. And then they didn't wanted to go dive deeper to understand better or whatnot. But I think maybe just to pivot out to really look at your own thought process, right? I wanted to pick your brains a little. So I understand that actually we have a lot of trademark option strategy in Piranha Profits. So just to name a few, right? A crouching bull spread, bull bang collar, snipex, earning sniper spread. So I think all these different strategies, right, has made you a combine of probably in the north of 600,000 US dollars.
You're
So I wanted to just focus on rather than the explanation of the particular strategy itself. I wanted to know the creation process because I believe many of these, right, is through your trial and error, your own testing, maybe employing one strategy, and then you think that, what's the pros and cons of this? How do you weigh them? And then why did you combine a few strategies together or even created your own? Maybe walk me through the thought process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it starts from looking at why most of people lose money trading option. And I realized that it's not something new to me. I was one of them at the beginning, right? And I look back the first 7 years where I lost money most of the time. It turns out that I often trade low probability trade, and the trade that has low probability of winning, like buying a call option, buying a put option. Normally you have 30% chance of winning. Number two, those kinds of trade also have the time working against you. So time decay works against the trade every single day. You wake up, you lose some money. So from that learning, right, I say, then let's create some strategies that allows you to be on the other side of the transaction. You trade opposite to what most of people do. So that's where I became the option seller. The option seller make more consistent profits. Time decay works in their favor. The probability of winning is much higher. So when I design any new strategies, I always start with these two principles. Number one, the new strategy has to have high probability of winning. You have the wide margin for errors and high probability of winning, at least like 60% or more. And some of the strategy like crouching bull could be 70%, like jade lizard can be like 80+%. That's number one. Number two, the strategy needs to have a positive theta, which is a time decay. So when you have a time decay that works in the trade favor, that also help improve the win rate.
Right.
So when I design the new strategies, normally I stick with these two first and then the other thing later. For example, the crouching bull is the one that made me the most money in last year. It has two elements inside the strategy. One, you sell a classical put. Two, you buy a bull corn spread. Why this is a combination of the two? I used to sell cash secure put for many years. And it's a high probability trade. You make money most of the time. The only frustration is yes, you can make money in cash secure put, but when the stock price keep going higher and higher, you will miss out on the upside gains. Because the cash secure put, you are settled for a limited profit. You know exactly how much is a max profit when you sell a cash secure put. And even if the stock price goes much higher, you won't earn more money. So then the question is, how could I do that, but I still have the opportunity to ride on the upside? So that's where I add the boon con spread in it. The boon con spread leg there allows you to ride on the upside. So when the stock price goes higher, you would have a significant upside potential for the trade. But I cannot do the boon con alone because the boon con by right it's the negative theta, which means time decay works against the trade. So I need to have both. The boon con needs to be an long dated option so that it can decay slower. The cash secure put is relatively short dated option so that it decays faster, which works in the trade favor. So I combine these two, then it give me both the higher probability of winning, the profit zone normally at 60% or more. Number two, time decay works in the trade favor. Again, it goes back to the principle that I have, right? And true enough, this strategy has been working really well for me. Even I started this one in 2022 when there was a bear market. This strategy did fine. It's not like making a lot of money, but it's not losing a lot of money
Right.
in the bear market. And then when the bull market returned in 2023, man, this one is like bread and butter for me.
So if I can basically very easily summarize it, I mean, it feels to me this is the impression that I get is that because you're trading so much, you're a veteran in the entire space itself, you always try and infuse different elements, try to understand which one, what are the pros and cons of this strategy, try to marry them together and try to achieve your optimal outcome on what you basically want to achieve. And in order for you to do that, you really need to be in the trenches, basically trading every day, understanding what are people's concerns, how do you profit better, how do you optimize different strategies and stuff. So that's how I basically think of how your creation process is in terms of the rigorous testing. And I just wanted to maybe extend the discussion a little bit on maybe what's your most recent experiment, and then before that, how long you experimented for, what was your win rate before you share with your students or the people in the community.
Yeah, the most recent one is the one that I introduced in the last few months, right? The Shade Lizard. Now, the Shade Lizard itself is not my own proprietary strategy. It's been there for a few years. But the version that's available in the public domain that you can search it, it's very generic.
Okay.
And it has no clear rules on what specific delta you need to sell this or to buy this, or there's no specific rules on entry for the technical setup or the exit rule when you hit this stop loss or taking profit points. There's no such thing on the net. So I took that one, learned shamelessly, and then I tested out over 150 plus trades and keep fine tuning the entry and the exit rules, different technical setups, different stock like characters like speculative stock or fundamentally good stock, and those kinds of things, and then consolidated in a very specific details set of rules so that we can teach our students. And our students who have used it also do a lot of sending a lot of testimonial confirming that this strategy worked well for them also. Many of them even got a better win rate than me. Right? They got like 90%, 90 plus percent. I got like 83 to 87%. And I spent almost like 4 to 6 months just testing it out first. Make a lot of mistakes in between, but then that's helped me fine tuning the strategy. And only when it consistently produce a positive results, then I would go and teach people.
Then maybe can you share a little bit on, like, let's say now I'm an aspiring options trader. I want to know what's your trading routine like. What do you usually do? Maybe in the
Okay.
maybe for context in Singapore, because during Singapore's night time, that's only when the US market opens.
That's
And I know
right.
you primarily trade in the US options market.
Correct.
So how do you manage your time?
So yeah, of course, I only trade U.S. options. The disadvantage of us being here in Asia trading U.S. Stock markets because it's late timing, right? You have to stay late. The day start every day. I mean, tell you the routine that I do, right? Every day when I wake up, the first thing I do is I listen to the podcast to understand what has happened during my sleep. Like somebody release earning and stuff like that. I like just spend an hour listening to the podcast to really get updated to the latest news. And after that, I start working by tallying, you know, tallying on the trades results that I have done the day before. So every day I trade a lot. I trade for the OTP community like Option Tactics Playbook where I have trades almost every day. I also have the master class.
What
Right?
specifically is the OTP options?
OTP is a subscription business where I show members the trades that I do every day and then explaining to them the rationale why I'm doing this, right? The trade setup and the very specific entry rules and what is my management and exit plan. So OTP member will look into it and if they like the trade, they just replicate it. They
Right.
just do it on their own account. If they don't like, they skip it because some of the trade could use more capital than the others, and some member may not be able to afford it, right? So they just pick and choose. It's the concept of I'm a cook in the restaurant when I serve dozen of different dishes, right? And then people can come and just pick up the food that they like, right? And they can skip the spicy food they don't like. So that's the concept of OTP. So every day I trade that one, and then the day after, I wake up, I tally on the result of the trades, and I send out the official notification of the trade that I entered the day before.
Yeah.
The day before, I send out the notification, but on a very fast, quick manner. The day after, that will be a more formal notification. So people have all the details in there. So I tally that trades and then I see, okay, then what is the P&L I make a day, right? Loss or profit. So that's something that I'm also interested to look into. And more importantly, what has been my learnings? Because during the trading session, I could have done something stupid. I could have done something that, in a normal time would not have done it. That's those learning. I say, okay, I never make this mistake again. But sometimes I make very good trades and I say, hey, this is also a good learnings that I need to repeat it in the future, right? So learning process keep going. In the afternoon, then I will start simulating new trades, preparing for the new day. So I scan through my watch list to see, okay, from the technical setup, most of the time, this stock has a good setup for a bullish trade. This stock has a good setup for a bearish trade kind of thing. And then place the trade there in the platform with the placeholder pricing, the one that it will not be filled until the market opens. So I place a lot of simulation trade on my platform just before the market opens. And then I also use, normally I spend 2 hours just walking, doing some exercise and maybe playing some tennis with my friends. And then the night will be my busiest timing, right? So when after dinner, then I start watching the market. Normally I watch for 1 hour without trading. Half an hour before the market opens and then half an hour after that. Those time frame I don't do anything. Just have a sense of how the market is behaving because this is important. Sometimes you cannot explain why you think the market will reverse or why you think the market will continue to go on the same direction. It is something that you only can develop over the years. So by watching the market, I can develop some kind of judgment or sense on where the market is going, and therefore I will place the trade appropriately. So after 30 minutes from the market opening, that's where I start my action in terms of entering new trades, closing trade, taking profit, taking loss, or rolling options and stuff like that until 1 a.m. Normally, that's where I sign off, and that's it.
Right. So that's a demonstration of a good options trader, right? Then what if I want to take the reverse and ask you, what exactly do you think makes a bad options trader?
Yeah, so based on my experience at the first few years and recently, I mean, also the last few years, I saw students make this mistake as well. So let me tell you, the psychology and risk management is a very crucial part. And lots of people lost money not because they don't know how to use a strategy, but more on how they manage their money. When you are in the market, when the price keep going up like we see, people are making money and they feel invincible. They feel very complacent and they thought this is the easy way to make money. And they keep increasing their trade size. They are taking more risk than they can afford. But I have been through in the tough time as well when the market goes to a correction mode, pull back significantly. That's where those people will get trouble, right? There was time, especially during 2022, when I received calls. I don't know why people got my phone number. They called me during the weekend,
Right.
like crying, asking me for help. And they show me some of the trades that they did. And I tell you, I was stunned because I trade big numbers, but even I could not even afford that kinds of trade size. We are talking about selling like 11 contracts of Tesla put option or selling like 5 contracts of Microsoft, things like that. I mean, people just thought that selling cash security put is a guaranteed way of making money, but they have to plan for the worst case scenario when everything goes down. That's where you are in trouble. And people ask me, how do I get out of the situation, right? When they are in the panic mode, they just keep making like more irrational decision. So then, even in the last Outlook webinar, there was a lady who came to show me the account and asked for help for the same reason. The stock that she sold the put on kept going down and down and down, and she kept like doubling up for that. And I tell you, that's the best way to blow up your account. So I always give the advice to those people that hey, the important thing for you now is not about the money. You need to keep your mind clear, a very clear mindset, so that you can make a right decision. And to do so, you need to close some of your position immediately. Because the more the price goes down, the more it's the loss snowball, and you will be even in the worst situation. Because they told me that they could not sleep anymore. So the first thing is you need to sleep. So I just told them that you need to find a way to help you sleep better.
Right.
And I used to be in that situation, so I cut loss, and after that I feel better and I can sleep better, and then I built up my wealth from there.
But I was interested in knowing actually before they even entered the position, if they are our students or they're in the community, have people not consulted you beforehand? Why are they consulting only when the trade
Yeah,
went south?
people don't consult anyone else if they are making money because
Right.
they thought they know how to do it. They know the know-how on how to
Yes.
make money, but only when they got trouble, then they look for help.
Right. That's an interesting human behavior, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe also I just wanted to pick your brains in understanding from your experience, right? What do you think is the biggest myth in options trading today?
Yeah, one of the things that I still amazed right now when I listen to media, right? Wall Street in general keep telling people that you buy options that where you make money because that's the way you leverage and you can magnify your return significantly. But that's not the way you make consistent profit. You could make profit in one trade or two trades, but as I said, most people lose money by just buying option. When you are an option buyer, the odds is not in your side. You have very low chance of winning because you need to, let's say you buy a call option. You can only make money if the stock price goes up. That's number one. The stock price needs to move up fast enough to go beyond your break even point. And finally, the time has to be right for you as well. It's no point if the stock goes up after the option has expired. So you have to have all three conditions to be happening at the same time for you to make money if you buy a call option. I call it like you need all stars to be aligned to make money. And the odd is low, right? So that's why sounds tempting, very attractive that you pay a little money and you could potentially get a big price out of it. But I tell you, the probability of winning is low. It's like you buy a lottery ticket, right? You pay a little money to buy a lottery ticket with the hope that you could win a big prize. But what is the chance of you winning the lottery prize? Don't be lured into that camp. Now, I cannot blame people there because I used to be them, right? Only when I learn properly and I know that you should not be buying options because that's the way you lose money more than you make money.
So Bang, I think there are some like FAQs, frequently asked questions, especially for a beginner options trader. Some probably off the top of my head, the easiest question is trading options full time really a viable option? No pun
Absolutely,
intended.
absolutely. Provided that you are equipped with the right level of understanding of option trading and the strategies and your dedication of commitment to practice it, because practice will hone your skills, right? If you only learn the theory part, it won't help. You need to practice in the real trade environment.
Then if I'm a newcomer and I want to start, how much do you think is a good capital requirement, or how much is a good size to start trading? And what's the time commitment like?
I have seen many people, I mean, many students start with a few $1,000s. I think that is good enough for some basic strategies, some basic option strategies. But if you really want to practice more advanced strategies with more flexibility, with different setups, a bigger account would be better, right? Would give you more leeway to trade. But if you just focus on some simple strategies, I would say in terms of return on investment, you could expect to make about 20% a year in terms of return. And probably you just need to spend maybe 1.5 hours a day, mostly for you to force a sense of the market and also have the real experience with the trade environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one of the more maybe typical question is really the idea of options is quite a complex one, to be very, very frank, even as someone that I studied finance in uni, and options was one of the topics that you have your Greeks, you have your volatility. We needed to go and memorize Black-Scholes model and stuff like that. So the learning curve seems steep. And what should I do? Some people might feel very confused. And what would your recommendation be?
Like every time you learn new thing, right? Everything seems very difficult at the beginning. Even when you start learning how to drive, how to swim, everything is so difficult. Same thing for option trading. You also feel a little bit confused or overwhelmed at the beginning. But hey, at Piranha Profits, we created environment, the learning environment where not you just learn, but also you can ask questions, ask clarification, or help in the community channels. And the coaches and myself are there with them most of the time. So you get your questions answered almost instantly. That's the way we think that will help the student the best way. Right. The one I did not get when I started. So yes, it's complicated, but yes, we are there to support, to help you.
Then maybe one last question is, what do you think is the best option strategy? Like, if you can only name one.
Well, there are more than 100 option strategies out there. Not by me, but available in the option trading world. There are different strategies for different people, for different profile. Some investors who can use like strategies like cover call, like cash secure put, like buy protective put. For traders, you can use on other strategies as well. And options are suitable for different types of trader as well, like some very busy professionals. There are strategies for them. There are strategies for beginner who has lower capitals, and there are strategies for more experienced people as well. So it kind of we have everything for everyone.
I think we've came to kind of the end of the podcast interview already. So maybe I'll just ask maybe three living or parting thoughts question. So Bang, what would you like to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered for being a good option trader and trainer who cares for his students and who really sincerely wants his student to do well.
And if you're given a chance again to start over, right? How would you rewrite your journey?
Yeah, of course, I would not want to waste the first 7 years, where I experiment like a blind walker. I would immediately jump into learning option properly. That cut short my learning curves and also saved me a lot of money as well, because I lost a lot of money in the first 7 years.
So I think maybe on that same note, right? Just a last question for somebody out there that might be a complete beginner or somebody just trying to know what they're exactly doing in options. What's your one key advice?
First of all, jump right in, learning that. Don't make the same mistake I made, and we just you do it yourself. Be persevere, keep practicing, and practicing again until you master your skills. And once you master it, it will be very rewarding. And I tell you, the reason why I can retire early is part of that, because I could master my skills in option trading and making money for myself.
Okay, I think once again, thank you Bang for extending the time out to come over to our studio. And I believe this video probably would have helped with a lot of people that might just be starting out or might not even know what they're doing in their options journey ahead. So yeah, thank you Bang, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you, CK. Thank you, everyone.
Till next time, keep winning.